time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Awesome show this week. All kind of stuff going on. We got the brand new market numbers in, and they're very, very interesting to say the least. We have double-digit declines in terms of sales, but prices up to a new record. So we'll talk about that, what that means overall. But they're interesting. They're pretty good overall. But sales did decline a little over 13%. So we'll talk about that, what that means, and kind of what that looks for, what to look for as we're in this new spring market. We'll talk about. But very, very interesting. We'll dig through and just look at the overall macro market, what happened here on the Grand Strand. They're fresh off the press, which is super cool. Also, we have some national data that shows statistically the best week to list your house of the year is almost here. We'll talk about what that is, what week that is, and why that is. Super, super interesting stuff there as well. We have one thing on the show's agenda from last week we just didn't have time to get to. Just talk about building permits on the Grand Strand, where the Grand Strand is outperforming the rest of the state, which is super cool to look at. Also, kind of want to share just a couple amazing success stories. Our team's been absolutely crushing it. One example where someone, she couldn't get her property sold for over 6 months, didn't get one single offer on it, barely any traffic. Thankfully, it was referred to us, came in, we were having it under contract in about a week at the same exact price. So we'll talk about that, what makes things different overall, and just a lot of great stuff. Another horror story, too, which we'll talk about. 2 horror stories. One lady was listening to her brother on advice. Brother price was about $140,000 less than what the property is actually worth. So there's just so many stories. And also one thing I'll talk about, I get this a lot, and a lot of investors, like every investor conference I've ever been to, they just prey on people who have estate sales. Most of the time they inherit the property. They don't know what to do with it. So they go straight to these investors and they leave $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 on the table. And I'll talk to you about how to get around that. But we have one main goal, the same goal we've been doing here for 14 plus years on this same show, and just help you be updated on anything and everything real estate related. If you ever want to come back and listen or hear a show, you can always go back and just watch us on YouTube. Just type in Blake Sloan Radio Show. It's on there. We stream it on Facebook, on Twitter or X now. Just type in Blake Sloan. You can follow me under Blake Sloan or go to Sloan Realty Group, and always come back and watch those and share those. But lots of great stuff on today's show.
All right, a lot of stuff to get to. Just for the very first time, and you're not sure who you're listening to or what you're listening to, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show, hosted by, of course, Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan has been called the real estate whiz kid. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, and other national publications. You may be seen him on TV with NBC and also with Fox and Breakfast Morning Show. You heard the personal endorsements here backed by Sean Kennedy, also Barbara Corcoran, Gary LaBonte. Put them all together, it's just totally unprecedented. Now, that's one thing. But the other thing is that Blake has trademark systems for both home sellers and home buyers. They are trademarked, so we can't give you all the details, but more than happy every week to tell you the most important part of that system.
Yes, and I made a promise over and over. I'll tell you exactly another story about that today. On why I made this promise. I hear horror stories over and over and over and over and over every single week. They're all over the place, but it really comes down to the same thing, that people make this massive mistake of just thinking that all real estate agents are the same, and it could not be any further from the truth, right? You're talking about a service-based business. You're talking about something that has human beings involved, and anything that has human beings involved is drastically different based on the human beings you choose and how they actually execute. Now, you want to up the stakes on that. You talk about your largest asset. For most people, real estate is one of their largest assets. On top of that, you up the stakes even more when you have something that has a very, very long sales cycle, like real estate, right? There's a long sales cycle in real estate. You're not just going to Best Buy and buying a TV, getting it, putting it in the car, going home. There's a long process to it, and searching and finding it, putting it under contract, going through the process to get qualified, to get the loan, to get all that stuff, home inspections, to, termite inspections, all these things happen, right? It's a long sales cycle. So there's so many nuances that make or break the home sale, aka as the seller side, and also the home purchase as a buyer, where if each one of those variables is handled incorrect, what it does is it costs you money, your hard-earned equity. And what most people, they're not even aware. They're just totally oblivious that all these things are getting mismanaged, and that is costing them money. And so that's why I made the promise to talk about this every single week of the show. Sorry, every single time on the show, just because that's all that matters. If I can just repeat that over and over and over. And I had some this morning who had some booked for Tuesday, text in and said, well, we're just going to go maybe with a family friend. And our team reached out. They didn't even know the family friend's name. And finally got the name, looked up, they had sold 2 houses in the last 12 months. And this is the largest asset, right? It's just one of those things that you see this over and over. So here's the bottom line. The single most important variable that determines your success or failure as a home seller comes down to one thing only. And that thing is the agent that you choose, period, right? It's not the wall color. It's not really how friendly they are. It comes down to how good are they at what they do and how well they execute on the variables. And so what most people realize when you're selling a property is 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one of those is handled correctly, it puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, they can drop the ball at any point. This could be anything from the quality of the photos, the actual order of the photos, the color tone in the photos. Does your agent answer the telephone when somebody calls a for sale sign? How long does it take your agent to respond to a web lead that comes in an inquiry online? How will they negotiate purchase price? How will they negotiate home inspection? Are they someone who likes to get a deal done? Are they able to get a deal done? Do they have the experience to get the deal done between buyers and sellers in a very emotional purchase and sale? There's all these nuances. Do they do any marketing? If so, where do they market? Where do they get the buyers from? Do they have any buyers? All these things matter and they add up. And if each one's handled correctly, you're able to stack the dominoes in your favor and you're able to get more money for your house and it ends up selling faster. If anything's handled incorrectly, right, it costs you hard-earned equity. The ball does get dropped, typically ends up dropping price. Then you drop more price in negotiation. Then you obviously drop more after the negotiation through home inspection, other issues. And we shared a story like that on last week where one of our agents on our buyer team negotiated $88,000 over 3 different times through the transaction with some sellers who are they're not our client. We had the buyer and they hired some discount broker who was very inexperienced. And she got a tremendous amount of money off. And it just matters in that. And I'll talk about that. And so what I did said, look, there's got to be a better way than the old school method. The old school method is how it was. I grew up in the business, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma, entire family. So every day after school, guess where I'd be? In the office, studying real estate, watching people do real estate, putting signs out when I was 2 years old with my mom. And we still have pictures of that. But the reality is, I always wanted to be in real estate and be good at it. My parents didn't want me to. They wanted me to be, doctor, lawyer. Always did very, very well in school. But I was always fascinated with business. And so I knew that when I got into real estate, I was like, man, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I looked at what people did outside of real estate in real traditional type businesses. And I was like, how do we bring that type of repeatable process into real estate so we can get the same type results predictably and be able to spend money up front, risk it up front, and know I get a return on it. And so we did that. I sought out tons and tons of mentors and coaches outside the real estate industry, brought them in, spent lots of money, and it helped us develop this system and process that made us the number one real estate team in Myrtle Beach, top 60 in North America. And that includes huge, cities with millions and millions and millions of people that we're able to compete with and really stand toe to toe with in terms of numbers because of these things I developed. And the main thing we talk about, Dave mentioned, is the guaranteed sold system. The system I designed, it's exclusive to us, but it's the only proven system that sells homes twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. I designed it. And what we do there is instead of the traditional way that most realtors do real estate is just the 3 Ps. They promise you the world to get the listing. They're desperate. They say anything and everything they can to get the listing. Why is that? Well, because the average agent in our marketplace sells less than 4 homes per year. That's 1 per quarter. There's not any money to eat with, much less spending marketing on your behalf. So the minute they get an offer, guess what they do? They're going to pressure you like crazy to take that offer, and they're going to throw you under the bus behind your back. How do I know that? I see it every single day. And so what we said is there's got to be a better way than that. The second thing they do is they just put it into MLS. And the third thing to do is pray that someone else brings a buyer. They take half the commission. They're okay with that, right? And so that's how the industry's worked for 100 plus years. And so we sought out to change that, create a movement and things that were different. And that's exactly what we did. And so we have 2 main things. That first thing we did is we identified everything that has to happen in the right order, the right way to make sure that we can get leverage for our client. And so we stack the dominoes in their behalf at point 1, at point 2. We have 2 things that back it up: a team of people. We have a team of specialists. Each person on our team is a specialist. So they're very, very good at what they do. They handle each part of the transaction, all the way from marketing to inside sales to outside sales, to even our in-house photographer, in-house videographer, in-house graphic design. All that stuff's all done in-house because we know that we can control that variable, and I can do that with precision, and I stack all those up. I'm much more efficient. And what that does is it allows us to do things faster, allows them to do it much better, and that allows us to be much more efficient in our conversion process, to be able to spend more on clients, to be able to help make sure that we get more buyers to your listing. And so that system I designed, like I mentioned, is called the Guaranteed Sold System. It works very, very, very well. And it's designed to do one thing, and that's give our client a massive competitive advantage. On the flip side, there's 100 plus variables for buyers out there. Details matter in that. And so what it does is gives priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as home inspection, to be able to negotiate that piece of it, which is usually 30, 40 pages, and it does make or break the difference there in terms of that. And also to get you that close table successfully. And then also we make sure we represent our client after closing. We help them get the best, I say, connections to vendors where we have, Sloan's list, not Angie's list. You want a plumber, electrician, whatever it is, we're constantly vetting and finding the best vendors who give our clients great deals because we do a lot of volume. But really want to make sure we take care of them once they own the house. And so that's a key part of that. And that's when I say that the agent that you choose matters. And there's one lady I shared a couple weeks ago. This is why it matters. Like her name is June. She submitted to our website. And she submitted to our website because she wanted to get the information on her house. And so we reached out. Joe, my office, who's been with us 10 years in September. It's amazing. He's our VIP concierge. But what he did was he reached out and she said, well, actually, I just sold my house. And I was just trying to get the value on it. And I got your email. And we emailed her. And it's one of those things that she actually sold the house for $80,000 less than it was worth online. And that was one thing that we could actually got more than that. And so what the scenario was, we dug in that she wanted to save a commission of 3% on the seller side. She had someone that reached out to her wanting to buy it. That person had a buyer's agent. It was her father. They negotiated her down, and she sold the house for $80,000 less than what it's worth because she commission, which would have come about to $8,000. And so she let $8,000 keep her from getting $80,000 in hard-earned equity that she earned over the last almost 20 years. And she retired on a fixed income. And so this is why I'm so passionate about that. I see this happen over and over and over and over again. And why that your agent you choose matters. And the other part of this is, like I mentioned last week, for Jasmine, and this is just examples just recently. She's our buyer's agent. The other people, sellers, listed that they're very desperate, inexperienced agent. And so they had their price, I think it was like $550. They negotiated $40,000 off the price initially, put it under contract. There were some issues on the deed where it had some restrictions on there that buyers didn't like. So she went back, negotiated an extra $20,000 off the price before we ever got to the home inspection process. Before we got to any appraisal process. The appraisal came back a little bit short. She was able to negotiate another $28,000 off the appraisal piece of it. And so she ended up getting $88,000 off the price from the seller because their seller's agent wasn't very good at negotiating, and they're basically throwing their client on the bus. And so this is where, and that seller many times will get to the closing table and feel like they had a great experience, but they didn't realize they left $88,000 on the table. And so this is why the agent you choose matters. If you want to know more about it, reach out, call us, at least investigate it. Most people we realize will spend 15, 20 years building a hard-earned equity, but 10 or 15 minutes picking an agent. And so, and the questions there, they don't even know what questions to ask the right agent to figure out, hey, look, what makes you different? What's your marketing budget look like? Where do you market to? Who are the buyers you have? All these things, they don't know what to ask. They just go meet with them and go with what their gut says, which in many cases is not the absolute best. And so if you want to know more, if you take anything from this show, the stakes are huge. It's one of your largest assets. It has people involved. You want to make sure that you go with someone who's elite, who's detail-minded, who's focused, and who's hungry to make sure you get you the most amount of money. So we'll talk about that today, but I always want to share that. I'll take a quick break right back here in a second.
Now, when you sell your home, you need to speak to one of the agents right here in town that will get you the most money with the least hassle. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, knowing the facts when you vote and when you sell your home is always important. That's why you should check out the value of your home in today's market. When you know the accurate value, you are better equipped to make an informed decision with all the options laid out for you. You know, options like an instant offer, or lay out your timeline and take advantage of the guaranteed sale program, or just put it on the market and get more money than you expected. Just go to the website, find out your home's value in seconds. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at BlakeSloan.com. That's BlakeSloan.com. And get your home's real value in today's market in just seconds, and then you can start packing.
Hi, I'm Barbara Gordon. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. He offers several options for home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers that time crunch, you can agree to sell it on a certain date, being after it almost even ready.
That's great. And if the seller has a big board time,
Use our proven marketing plan and sell it for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Market update, all kind of crazy stuff going on. We'll talk about the market numbers, the brand new market numbers in from last month, fresh off the press. They may change just a little bit as more data gets put in. Some of the agents are slack and they closed at home last month. They still haven't updated MLS this month. And so you'll see that you usually get fully accurate about the 10th of the month. But they're pretty much close right where they are. We always track it real time. We talk about two numbers on the show. Super important to do so. We have what we call the windshield numbers, which is, hey, what's happening right now in front of us? And that's the numbers we look at is what went under contract the last 7 days here on the Grand Strand in terms of the amount of properties, aka the count. And then also we have the amount of volume. So we can see, hey, look, there's volume up, volume down. And at any time we're around 200 million or more, it's rock and roll. We've been tracking this since COVID started. And it's been interesting. So we just had some headwinds this past week with interest rates. They jumped back above 7%, which really put some, like I mentioned, headwinds or some brakes on the buyers out there. We find that to kind of be the sweet spot. Anything below 7, buyers are moving. Anything above 7, they start to hold back. But if you look at the last 7 days, there's 556 properties that went under contract. But the down thing is it's a 16.27% decrease from last week. So last week's show, there were 664 properties went under contract, which is huge. And it was for 250 million. This week, only 201 million. So basically a $49 million increase. That's in the 7-day period. From last week to this week. And so that just has to do with interest rates, right? As they have climbed up a little bit and they may climb up a little more, we'll see. That does just mean less buyers buy. They get more on the sidelines. They wait for it to be more affordable. And that's one thing to keep in mind overall. Inventory is still steady climbing, just getting higher and higher and higher, which is good for buyers out there, not great for sellers out there. We have seen a lot of high-end properties move. So in the last 7 days, there's 15 properties over $1 million, which is awesome. Even one here in Grand Dunes, Vista Del Mar condo, 2.6 million winter contract, which is awesome. Another $2 million one in Pawleys Island, and lots over $1 million. A lot of properties are $1 million between that. So basically 13 other ones that were over $1 million. 90 properties over 500,000 under contract, was awesome. And right now 1,055 active homes. Just on last week's show, there's only 1,038. We've seen that climb the week before that. Only 1,002 properties. So you're seeing it climb slowly. And that's very typical for the spring market, right? Many people kind of hold to the winter time. They wait to the spring. It is a little more competition, but also a little more buyers come in as well, which is interesting. So looking at the overall rear view mirror numbers, that's what everyone uses across the country. That's kind of what everybody's used for decades. You look at what properties closed last month. That really kind of help you keep a really detailed pulse. But the thing to remember, if it closed last month, it went under contract usually 30 to 60 days prior to that. So if it closed in March, under a contract, usually January, February, in some cases December. And so that's something to keep in mind. If you look at closed sales last month, they're actually down 18.2% from the same month last year. And so 405 properties closed. It's up significantly from December. December is the lowest it was since 2016 with 300 properties closed, but 405 last month. You go to last year in March, it was 495 properties which closed, which is good. And that was obviously one of the almost between that and June, those are the top 2 months in 2023. It's right now between last year and this year, we're in a very, very, very interest rate driven market. You see buyers jumping when interest rates are down. You see them get out, interest rates are up. So you want to make sure you time that. It's not as seasonal as usual because you're seeing such drastic changes there. And obviously interest rates matter more than they have. The great news though, sales price up like crazy. And that's just due to low inventory overall. The new median price record here on the Grand Strand, $395,000, up 5.3% from last year, which is awesome. The next highest prior to that was $389,000 back in November 2023. We just hit a new record there. We've climbed up really for the past 3 months, which is awesome news. Average sale price is up 13.8% at $508,728. It's not quite the record. We had a record in November of last year at $515,987. And then it dropped back down for the past really 4 months. And in the 5th month here, it's back up to $508,000. So that's great news overall. Inventory has gone back down. As the last month, you saw a big run when rates went down. A lot of properties, last month that kind of came after the January, February run is climbing back up in real time. Remember, this is in arrears. So this is looking back at March. But right now we're at 3.3 months of inventory. That's still a super seller's market. The seller still has a massive advantage in this overall. And showings per listing is actually down 12.7% from last year. And so last March, this March, we're getting 4.8 showings per listing. Last March, you're getting 5.5 showings per listing. Now, the major problem why most of your properties on the market hasn't sold, that's because the average amount of showings it takes to get a contract is 10.0 right now, which is down 9.1% from last year. And so the average listing right now, so that's the median. The median showings is 10.0. Average amount of showings is 13.5 to get a contract. So the average amount of showings, the average listing is getting right now is 4.8. This is tracked because there's a software that MLS uses for everyone that books showings. You book it through that software, and they have the data there. And then the average amount of showings it takes to get a contract, 13.5. And so that's why it's important you're getting traffic to your listing. That's why it's important it gets marketed. That's why it's important it gets differentiated, because you want to make sure you have enough buyer eyeballs on it so you find the right buyer who's qualified, who's most likely to buy that property, and will pay a premium for that property. So one thing been driving this has been interest rates. Interest rates this past week jumped back over 7%, which was, tough. It put some headwinds in there. The good news is on Friday, it dropped back down to 6.99%. We'll take it anything below 7. So a 30-year fixed rate, 6.99%. A 15-year fixed rate right now, 6.44%. A 30-year jumbo loan, 7.31%. A 30-year FHA loan, 6.44%. And a 30-year VA loan, 6.45%. And so it's great news anytime it's in the sixes. A lot of people are predicting we're not going to see a rate drop in this next May meeting from the Fed, which does indirectly affect mortgage rates. We're hoping it doesn't climb too much. What that means is I'm thinking about selling. I want to do it earlier rather than later. If you're not buying, I want to do it probably a little bit earlier rather than later. It's a win-win for both. And so if you want to know more how that works, reach out, call me. If you want an instant online evaluation of your home, we have an amazing software we spend $1,000 a month for. You just go around your phone on blakesloan.com, type in, it's a chat bot, and it'll tell you everything about your house. You can have a dashboard there for all your properties, all your investment properties are free of charge. You can also get an instant cash offer on there to blakesloan.com. A quick break, right back in a sec with a hot buyer alert.
WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. Here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his guarantee.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know what your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with two mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you are looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 five-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing that Sloan Realty Group.
And tune into Blake's show Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Radio Show. Hot Buyers Alert. My team and I are working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers who are looking for homes here in the Myrtle Beach, Grand Strand area from $250,000 to $4.4 million. If you're thinking about selling, please contact us immediately. 843-808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. One thing we do every single week, put our money where our mouth is, and just kind of share, hey, look, here's real time what buyers we have, and we outspend the average agent 100 to 1. Why is that? Because it goes back to that business model I mentioned earlier. We're much more efficient with a team of specialists. And so we have 26, 27 buyers agents right now, multiple listing partners, inside sales team, outside sales teams. We have buyers from all over the globe because we're outspending the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. And so we have active, what we call buyers in waiting, meaning that once we get a listing, first thing we do is match up buyers and sellers using technology that we have to help develop. So right now, 75,819 active home buyers, 75,819 active home buyers from all over. I got Amaro from Myrtle Beach. I got Dave Barlett from Colchester, Vermont. I got Norman from Charlotte, North Carolina. I got Judith Hancock from Norfolk, Virginia. I got Debbie Spear from Loch Sherdrake, New York. I got Woodbridge, Virginia, Canton, Ohio, Albany, New York, Woodbridge, New Jersey, Kingsport, Tennessee, Rancho Cucamonga. I got all over the place, right? Why is that? Because of global reach. And so if you ever wonder, hey, what makes you different? We have 75,819 active buyers already looking for a house like yours before you ever call me. And so versus the average agent who starts by putting a sign in the yard and hoping someone calls it, we're spending tens of thousands of dollars a month every month before you ever pick up that phone. And we have a sales team who makes on average 16,000 phone calls a week. That's our minimum target. To our buyers list that we have, these are active buyers. The username password account, and we're following up, nurturing them. And then our goal is to match up buyers and sellers because that's what we're hired to do. And that's what the client wants us to do, right? So if you're thinking about selling, reach out to us, call us 843-808-SOLD. It's no hassle. It's simple. We can always walk you through. Even if you're not ready yet, we can coach you up and say, look, here's what you probably want to do. Here's the best time of year to do it. Here's some things you can do to get highest ROI. That's what we're here for. So really quick, a couple of awesome success stories. Big shout out to Patricia. She owned a home in Myrtle's Inlet. Recently decided it was time to sell, but she had her house listed with another realtor for 6 months, didn't have one single offer. Feeling defeated, she decided to see if any investors would be willing to buy her property, but quickly realized they just all wanted to steal her hard-earned equity. Thankfully, a friend recommended Sloan Realty Group to her. She decided to give them a call. We met with Patricia. She with her that we had thousands of buyers looking for homes exactly like hers in Myrtle's Inlet. I came in, designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, the virtuality walkthrough, started driving massive traffic within a couple of weeks, had a fantastic offer on the house at almost full asking price, or at the same price as before. That's just a great example of differentiation in marketing and someone who can actually hustle with it. Also, a different person, Phyllis, her mother passed away 2 years ago, left behind her townhome, Myrtle's Inlet, for Phyllis and her sister. Phyllis and her sister recently decided it was time to sell. They want to make sure that process was easy. They didn't want to go through a complicated closing process, and they originally met with a couple of investors. They quickly realized they were getting pennies on the dollar for what they thought it was actually worth. This is a very common occurrence if you didn't know. It's one of those things that basically heard about us from our billboards in town, which is super cool. Called us because of the guaranteed sold system. We came in, designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, virtuality walkthrough, drove massive traffic, had an as-is offer, which is super simple. I wish you had to fix anything or anything. Within just a week and a half, right at an incredible, almost full asking price. And they were able to move on, putting maximum equity in their pocket. And so just don't gamble, especially if you get an inherited property. Don't give it away. So many people just give it away. And one of the things that they do is they just don't want to deal with it or have a realtor. Look, you can sell it as is. You don't got to fix everything up. We have full-time buyers that'll make sure they can do that for you. Really quick, I want to get to one thing. I got 2 minutes left. Which week is the most statistically best week of the year to put your house in the market? This is from Realtor.com data, a bunch of stuff. Here's a quote. Every year, 1 week stands out from the rest, the perfect stretch of time when it's great to be a home seller. This year, the week of April 14th through 20th is the best time to sell. That is, if sellers want to see lots of interest in the home, sell quickly and pocket some extra cash, according to Realtor.com data. Later on, it says, the third week of April brings the best combination of housing market factors for sellers. The best week offers higher buyer demand, lower competition from other sellers, and fewer price reductions than any typical week of the year. And so obviously coming up on that, if you're thinking about selling, you always want to tee it up at the best possible time to get the most amount of money. And obviously you want to use the best realtor to do that for you. Reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com anytime. We'll see you back here next week.